Good day, everyone, and we want to welcome you to our monthly webinar series. We want to give a special welcome to all our first-time attendees and as well as our returning attendees. And we want to thank you for joining us today. In today's session, we have our Deputy CEO here at Spatial, Roshaun Clarke. Roshaun will delve into the ArcGIS Workforce. And as some of you are aware, the ArcGIS Workforce is a mobile app solution that uses the power of location to coordinate your field workforce. It integrates work management to reduce reliance on paper and provides everyone with access to the authoritative data they need. ArcGIS Workforce is designed to help you reduce errors, boost productivity, and save money. And now, Roshaun, over to you.
Thanks much, Philip. Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. All right, so a special good morning, good day, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. I am Roshaun Clarke, and my job here, it's my pleasure to share an introduction to ArcGIS Workforce. Of course, I represent Spatial Innovision. We're the distributors for Esri for the English-speaking Caribbean, and it's a pleasure to speak with you. All right, so for the purpose of this conversation, we're going to go through a few things. We're going to speak just in general to what is ArcGIS Workforce. We're going to speak a little more about what the application can do. Then we'll dive a little deeper into how it works. And then finally, we'll share some additional resources that may be beneficial to you. And if we have enough time, we'll open up to a Q&A to answer any questions that you may have. All right, so what is ArcGIS Workforce? I think before we speak to what ArcGIS Workforce is, we have to take a step back to better understand the context of ArcGIS Workforce, to understand the system that it sits in, the ArcGIS system, and then to understand how it relates in the context of field operations. So ArcGIS system in general is a multidisciplinary system that speaks to GIS, Geographic Information Systems, and serves different sectors, industries in their need. But the software side of it, it is a end-to-end, I would say, platform that allows for locational analysis, prediction, studying of patterns, mapping, and deeper understanding. It sits on three main pillars. One being the ArcGIS online environment, which is, as the name says, it's online, it's software as a service. It's taking the software and pushing it through to simply be used in the online space. It has another pillar of ArcGIS Pro, which is the main brain, the power of the system itself. And then there's ArcGIS Enterprise, which is a server-based element of our environment of the platform. If you notice in the center, it's ArcGIS, and all of the things are feeding in and out. It's a two-way conversation going on. But if you look to the upper right corner, you will see an additional diagram which speaks to ArcGIS as a system, but it being in the enterprise environment within your organization. And that can relate and communicate with the system through a portal. Now, everything that you see here is like one big ecosystem, and everything feeds into everything depending on where you decide to work in the environment. The same concept of that can be looked at for the field operations. The field operations powered through and by ArcGIS allows or enables locational analysis or all of the locational activities related to field work. We like to say there are 6 main steps to take: planning, navigating, understanding, capturing, monitoring, coordinating. And all of that is served through the ArcGIS system. So in the planning stage, you want to use your location to assign and coordinate field activities. Once you assign those activities, your field worker or your mobile worker will use the system to navigate, route to where the work is supposed to be using GIS data, even when they're offline. Then they use the system not just to navigate, but to also understand other variables within the environment. And when I'm saying environment, I'm not talking about the system environment, but the actual location. So let's say, for instance, you're going to do a survey. You don't only want to navigate to the point of survey, but you want to see other things happening around to better understand your environment. Then you go, you capture the information that you need to capture, you perform data collection, you send it back to the office from anywhere you are using the tools. And then in the back office, your colleagues can be monitoring your work, can be updating the assignments, and coordinating resources as needed. So it's a full ecosystem of field operation powered by ArcGIS. And ArcGIS Workforce is one of the main coordinators for field operations. The field operation mainly sits on a bunch of apps. I'll take you back to a slide I showed earlier. Here, if you notice, on the ArcGIS online side of stuff, and also on the ArcGIS Enterprise, you see that there are a bunch of apps. The apps are the multiple tools that we use to get the most out of the system. In terms of apps, there are a bunch of apps, but we could put them into two main categories that are the bulk of it. We have field apps, we have essential apps, and then there are some others that are unique, special functioning apps that you can buy or you can apply specifically to your need. But for the purpose of this conversation, we speak about the field apps and we speak about essential apps. The field apps, as you can see on the screen, consist of ArcGIS Field Maps, which is an all-in-one app for field work. Survey 123, which is I would say it's a geocentric form, allowing people to create, share, and analyze surveys in some easy steps. ArcGIS Workforce, as we mentioned, which coordinates the teamwork, and then ArcGIS Quick Capture, which speaks to if you want to rapidly capture field observations on the move. There are a few templates that you capture as you go along. All of these are integratable, they coexist harmoniously, and they help to increase your efficiency when you're working. In addition, there are the essential apps, which speak to more additional functionalities you would do outside of the field, meaning after you have captured your data, how do you disseminate the information? You can disseminate information through story maps. You can disseminate information through dashboards, which allows for high-level observation of your KPIs, your key performance indicators, your metrics to see how well you're doing. You can communicate through ArcGIS Hub Basic, which allows you to create a platform like a website and pages, and you share open data and engage your community through this. And there are others here as well. We're not going to dive too much into the essential apps, but this just shows that the full ecosystem is not only for the data collection, but also for the data dissemination. So in general, we say ArcGIS Workforce is a smarter fieldwork coordination at your fingertips. Now, what can ArcGIS Workforce do if we want to dive a little further into its core functionality? It provides a full view of the productivity of your operations, not just to see the operations, but to optimize your operations, to see how well you're going to hit your targets, your KPIs, your due dates for assignments in the fields. If you're doing a census, you have a time limit that you want to complete your census by. Otherwise, some of the initial data collected becomes outdated, so you have a set time. Or if you're in the field of utilities, time is directly linked to money, to revenue, to cost, to expenses, to return on investment. And so the productivity and the observation of it in visual terms, it's very, very powerful through the ArcGIS Workforce. You also have the ability to have real-time situational awareness as you go along, which is very, very important, again, for, one could say, for mission critical activities. It increases also your efficiency. It makes your operation smarter by leveraging smart devices. As my colleague Philip mentioned, moving away from paper-based operations, smart operations. And that in itself leads to improved reliability, more authoritative data being captured, and decreases the margin of error by doing stuff digitally, by having things being monitored in a digital space, being able to track your activities. So it is a very, very, very powerful application that can be leveraged in multiple disciplines. A few examples of these disciplines, as shared by my Esri colleagues, speak to, I'll give you a first example, North Ayrshire Council. They have a fully automated approach to scheduling ground maintenance tasks using Workforce. They use ArcGIS API for Python to script routine tasks, or what we use, instead of saying script, to automate routine tasks. And it integrates, they have used it to integrate with Salesforce CRM for all ground maintenance. Similarly, the city of Miami, they have used ArcGIS Workforce for public works crews moving from paper to iPads. And now they have transformed their day-to-day that they can resolve requests faster using a low-code solution. Another example of customers that have used it is in the area of waste management. Waste Management Open has 700,000 people that attend and converge. The fire department paramedics use it for situational awareness, medical incidents, and so on. Even Super Bowl has used it. So this, and I want to make this point because sometimes we may believe that ArcGIS and the concept of GIS is strictly for super technical operations, high government level planning and urban planning and so on. But even the area of sports like Super Bowl, FBI agents have deployed Workforce for counter drone investigation and arrest. They have used it for drone detector device, which would detect and jam drone signals, and they assign a recovery or arrest task to an agent, complete the survey form about the suspect. So in management, in crowd management, to make sure, like public safety, that kind of stuff, it's also very powerful. And as you can see on the left side, on the right side of the screen, there are interviews where people are speaking about it and so on and so forth. Now, in a more detailed conversation, we can speak to how it works. That may be what is of most interest to most of my colleagues on this webinar right now. So how does it work? To get started, you go to the website, simply type in your arcgis.com. If you have an arcgis.com account or identity, you could automatically open up and you will see the bunch of apps in your upper right corner. You click a tab and all of your apps come down. If you don't have an arcgis.com ID, it's not a problem. You don't have to spend any money to get started with that. You typically can use your Facebook, one of your social media, or your Google, your Gmail. Any one of them that has single sign-on enablement, and you can create an account, right? That's the easier part of it. You may see something like this on your screen when you attempt to sign in, or if you generally go to the ArcGIS, the Esri websites, you may see a blue tab in your upper right corner that says Launch Workforce. Either one will lead you to Workforce, the application. Once you have the necessary privileges and you get in, you will automatically be able to create a project. Now, there are three main stages to using ArcGIS Workforce, and I'll put them in these three main areas. You administer your project, you dispatch your work, and the assignments are completed in the field. These are the three main ways that the three steps or the three stages to completing a task in ArcGIS Workforce. And I'm going to go a little deeper into each. For the projects, administering the projects, the first step is to create a project. Now, for this, you must have at least an administrator or publisher role in the organization. When we speak to the role, it means that someone in their organization would have already assigned this level of privilege or role to you so that you can create a project in ArcGIS Workforce. If you don't have that, you probably wouldn't see the projects, right? But once you have this role of being an administrator or publisher, you will have the privilege to create a project. Once you create the project, your next step is to define the types of work. And you will see the assignment tab at the top. You just click on that and it will come down to show you the type of work that you're looking for. Right after that, you want to define your roles. You use the user tab for that. And pretty much you're going to be moving between your mobile worker, who is the person in the field, and the dispatcher, the person who is creating the assignments and sending it out. You can do other functionalities like customize the map to the area that you want the task to be done. And most importantly, as I mentioned before, you want to be able to, well, not that you want to be able to, I should point out to you that you can integrate with other Esri apps. So for example, again, if it's a census survey, one would be creating the assignment in Workforce, but the person who is in the field would be using both Workforce to go where they need to go to see the assignment, and then using Survey 1, 2, 3, the application I showed you earlier, for the actual census. So it's that bit of ecosystem where you're moving from one app to the other in ArcGIS. Once all of that is done and you've created the project, you test the project. And I should point out that there are, before 2020, if you were using ArcGIS Workforce, you didn't have the functionality of working offline. But subsequent to 2020, ArcGIS Workforce now is able to work offline if you're not connected to the internet. And so if you have a project that was done before, that was created before 2020, it will be categorized as a classic project. And what you would want to do is migrate that classic project over so that you have the offline functionality in the new project. Yeah. Second step after creating your project is to deploy Workforce. And you can do this in three ways. You can provide a link for mobile users. You can provide and when I say a link, a URL link, this can be generated from ArcGIS Workforce. You can provide a link for the dispatchers, or you can use what we call an MDM, a mobile device management software. More can be spoken about each of these, and at this point, I would invite folks listening, or if you're watching this on YouTube, punch a comment in if you want a detailed webinar on any of these further areas that I'm discussing, because this is really an introduction to ArcGIS Workforce. However, we can do a deep dive into specific areas as communicated to us, right? So these are the ways to deploy Workforce. Now, a big part of how it works is in the back end is a specific schema, meaning there is a specific framework which the information is distributed or put together in that allows for a consistency as schema. If you're aware of schema, then you would know what I mean by a specific one for this application. I don't want to dive too deep into it, but a diagram is here that shows how the information goes through, almost like a flow chart. And this is very, very important when you're looking at automating workforce. One of the most powerful elements or functionalities or features of ArcGIS Workforce is that it automates repeating tasks. So one doesn't have to manually continuously sending out the same request. I think that one of the examples I shared earlier of taking care of your environment, I believe it was a customer that have like grass cutting and all of that. I'll see if I can quickly go back to that slide. I think it would have been this one. Maintenance activities. So every month you're gonna have to do some particular infrastructure or facility management kind of stuff, whether it is cutting the grass, whether it is hedging, even for a utility company that knows that ever so often they're gonna have to be cutting down the trees that are overrun, that are running into the power lines, that kind of stuff. Anything to do with public works, anything that is repetitive, instead of constantly doing it manually, you can automate it to run for specific periods, cycles, that kind of stuff. So it's a very powerful tool, and it can be automated in two ways. The recommended way is to use ArcGIS API for Python and writing a script that has it automating, or you can use ArcGIS REST for feature layers. Again, if this is a specific area that's of interest and you want more details, we can have one-to-one conversations, or we can do another webinar with a deep dive into that technical side of stuff. So once you have created the project, remember we said we had 3 main stages. We have administered the project. Now we're going to dispatch the work. Within the dispatch work stage, you have to create an assignment, and then you have to monitor the work. All right. For the creating of the assignments, that's normally done by the dispatcher. The dispatcher's main job is to create the assignments and dispatch it to the mobile worker in the field. So the dispatcher would go into Workforce, open Workforce, either from ArcGIS Online or from an app launcher in ArcGIS Enterprise. They would create the assignment from various options. You can create your assignment from the features. You can create an assignment from a search result, or you could create multiple assignments at once. You create the assignment, you point out what you need to be done, and then you review before you move to the next step. Now, what I want to say is, it's not necessarily that you're just creating the assignment from those features, but there are some additional ways that, or I shouldn't say additional, some more detailed ways that you can do it. For instance, while you're creating or editing, you can assign it. So let's say you're in the process of creating or you're editing your task. You're putting in some details of what you want. In that moment, you can assign it to, I could assign a job to Philip, to my colleague, right? It's not something that has to come after. It doesn't have to be sequential. It can be the same time. I kind of wanted to make that point. Or you can assign it using the assignment list. There's an assignment list, and you can it's like a drop down, and you choose who you're assigning it to. Or, which I believe is probably one of the easiest way, is through a selection on the map. Going on the map itself, selecting where you want this person to work, and assigning it to the person at the same time on the map. I believe this would be the most logical one, because you're not just assigning the task to someone in obscurity or in a vacuum, but you're assigning it in the context of the map. So you're visualizing where you want the person to work. And you can do that single by pointing at one specific area and assigning it to a colleague, or you can do it for multiple assignments by using your cursor or a lasso, and either using this cursor to create either a rectangle or square of a particular area on the map, or a lasso of a circle or something like this. Some lasso, of course, is almost like a pear-looking shape of the area that you want to assign multiple assignments to. So again, it's very intuitive. It's helping you to work efficiently and more easily, right? Then additionally, dispatchers can reassign assignments. So it's once you have created an assignment, you may decide that you want to reassign it to someone else. This can be done. You can reassign declined assignments. If someone was in the field and it did not work, or for whatever reason was declined. In the case of a survey, let's say someone went to a particular residency, no one was there, that person has stopped working at the organization. You can reassign that declined assignment to a new mobile worker. And you can also cancel assignments. You go to the overflow menu, you click cancel assignments, very, very easy to navigate. And then you can also sort and filter assignments accordingly. So again, it's a very powerful application. Once you have assigned, then you want to monitor the work, and you can do this by visually looking at the map, and you can view the status and the workload of mobile workers, and you can identify workers with out-of-date statuses and locations. The final stage in navigating ArcGIS Workforce is for the field worker or the mobile worker to complete the assignment. They have to do the work in the field, then they sync their work, they update their map, and they finish working. And here, a few of these slides coming now will just show you more to what it looks like for the mobile worker. As you can see here, they're viewing the list of assignments to do. They can sort their assignments in their to-do list from assign, due date, distance, priority. And all of these stuff can be tailored when the assignment is being created. You create the assignment, you create the date that it's due, the priority. All of this is customizable. Then you as a mobile worker can set your status. You're working, you're on break, you're not working at the moment. You can tap to view details of your work assignment. You can navigate to the assignment using the compass or direction functionality. You can slide up to view assignment details. And then you start your assignment. And as you can see, looking at the screen, you would see a location, the description, the priority, the due date. Object ID is how it works in the back end to connect the assignment to the person. This is in the schema side of stuff, who it's assigned to, and all of that detail. Once you have collected what you need, once you reach where you want to go, you collect the information that you need to collect. You click finish. And then it auto-populates the data from your assignment. Fill out the collection form. fill out the connection form. This is the data that you're collecting now. You submit. Submit returns you to your assignment. It's finished, and then you would move on to the next one. Of course, you can do other things. You can take photos, you can have an attachment. There are a lot of different things you can do. Once you've clicked finish, it's submitted to the dispatcher, or you might have a supervisor. They are getting that information on the back end. Then you can turn on your location tracks and view where you have worked on the map. Now, if you notice here, there's a dark blue and a light blue. So it would mean that the dark blue is where you have worked already. That square in the right-hand corner below the arrow button is probably where you are. Or no, you're probably where that blue button is. But in general, you can see the difference between what you have done and what you need to do. So in summary, ArcGIS Workforce helps you to plan and coordinate your field work. It allows you to use locational awareness to improve your efficiency and receive and manage field assignments. It's downloadable on App Store and on Google Play, Android and iOS. Now, the last thing I want to speak about is additional resources. As you know, we at Spatial Innovision offer the full service or solution for your GPS and GIS needs. So if it is that you want to optimize your capacity in using ArcGIS Workforce or anything related to field work, there are some Esri recommended courses that we could speak more to, and these are listed here. There's a course on apps to optimize field activities. There's one that we call FEDA, Field Data Collection and Management using ArcGIS. And of course, there's Collect Data in the Field using ArcGIS apps. We can deliver these training in person or virtual. And we have experience with delivering ArcGIS Workforce in the field. So the training would not just be in the vacuum of theory, but practicality as well. There are also additional resources from the product page on Esri.com. There's a documentation website. There's an Esri community group. There's some repository for scripts, and there's an ArcGIS Ideas website. All of this is a big thing that Esri, or I should say a key contributor to Esri's success, is the two-way conversation, the two-way dialogue with our users and our stakeholders. So as we create and improve the software, we also constantly take feedback from our stakeholders to make sure that what we're working on helps their jobs to be better and helps your jobs to be better. So these things are a two-way conversation. And these resources can be shared online, can be shared after the webinar for you to have a further dive into what ArcGIS Workforce can do. And having said that, I would pause and open the floor for any questions, whether we can answer it now or we can follow up afterwards. But in conclusion, ArcGIS Workforce is a very, very powerful application that can allow you to optimize your operation, optimize your field work, coordinating of your mobile workers through smarter solutions, smarter devices, smarter software that allows you to be the best in your field work. I would pause here and hand over to you, Philip. I don't know if there are any questions in the chat. You can let me know.
Okay, thank you, Roshan. We now open the floor to questions, so feel free to utilize the chat feature and we will answer. Seeing as I'm not seeing any questions, if there are any questions though, you can always email us or reach me at operations@spatialvision.com. You can also reach Roshan. And I just also want to point out that our previous webinars, they can be accessed through our YouTube channel. So feel free to just, when you get some time, to just watch them. Before we all head out, I want